Hello, cooking enthusiasts. This week's video is honestly a bit of a filler episode in the anime series. All the way back on January 1st of this year, my dad and I made a Neapolitan style lasagna, and it is pretty interesting, and I got some good footage of it, so I thought I would talk about it. But first, the obligatory reminder that I do have a very small scale Kickstarter project on the go. You can check that out in the first link in the video description. It's about experimenting with a relatively recently isolated species of yeast with some interesting properties, but all of the details are on the project page, so please consider sharing and contributing. But getting back to the lasagna, full disclosure, this was directly inspired from a video from the food busker who went to Naples to learn about and recreate this style of lasagna. I think potentially the most interesting thing about this style of lasagna is the sauce, which is roughly 50% ricotta. You make a pretty standard tomato sauce that your meat gets braised in, and then you strain that. Reserve a little bit of the pure red sauce and then combine the rest with fresh ricotta cheese. When I think of a North American or Italian American lasagna, I think one of the more controversial ingredients is a full layer of ricotta because some people find it adds too much moisture. So if you are someone skeptical of ricotta in lasagna, I do recommend giving this Neapolitan style a try, where you combine ricotta directly into the sauce. It adds a nice, mild richness, and I don't want to say recongeals, but it does sort of recongeal once it's cooked and cooled down and gives the lasagna some nice structure. The other interesting ingredient that you probably noticed at the beginning of this footage is hard boiled eggs. In our case, we were using about 10 duck eggs that we happened to have. Potentially not for everyone, but a pleasant and different texture, in my opinion. If I was going to do a slightly more modern reinterpretation of this lasagna, I might try to incorporate soft boiled or even poached eggs into the dish instead of hard boiled. And the last slight difference is the protein. Again, it's chunks of meat that have been braised in the red sauce beforehand. Normally pork and beef, and I believe we were actually using pork and bison because we had some on hand. It's also traditional to make miniature meatballs that also get cooked in the sauce, but instead we took some previously homemade meatballs from the freezer and just chopped them up. Then it was just about layering everything up. we were using store-bought dried lasagna noodles that had been par-cooked. In the end, there were definitely a few things we could have done better. It was a tiny bit dry, so we probably needed to use a little more sauce. And also, the large chunks of egg made the construction a little bit difficult, so it ended up kind of domed in the middle. But these are relatively minor things. It was still a very delicious meal, but also something I want to revisit in the future. If you have any questions about this or cooking in general, let me know in the comments. Another quick reminder to check the Kickstarter in the video description. Please consider sharing and subscribing. Otherwise, thank you for watching.